Hello everyone, welcome back students. Welcome back to Biotechnika's YouTube channel. So please confirm if you can hear me and see me. It's a long time that we have met in the last revision series for biology and as well as chemistry discussion. So I'm again back with the NEET biology discussion where I'm going to discuss the detailed explanation of the NEET question paper that was held on July 17, 2022. So we have already done with the 2 lectures for biology, that is for zoology as well as for chemistry. So today I'm back here to discuss the biology section, that is botany. So I'm going to discuss and give you the detailed explanation of the botany section that was there for NEET biology exam question paper. So I'll start in a couple of seconds. So please share this link to all your friends so that they can also get access to this link so that we can join together and have a detailed explanation for this. Welcome back everyone. Please confirm if you can hear me and see me. All right, so I hope you all have joined for this session. So now let's start with the session. So the first section first question that you had for the botany is, in old trees, the greater part of secondary xylem is dark brown and resistant to insect attack due to. So we all know that there are 2 types of growth in the plants. First is the primary growth and the second one is the secondary growth. In the primary growth, we have the cell division in the stem as well as the root part. That causes the elongation of the stem and root and thereby enhancing and promoting the primary meristem or the primary growth. Then what is secondary growth? A secondary xylem, where happens a secondary growth in the primary growth that has already happened in the stem and the root. So in case of secondary growth, there happens a cell division in the cambium part, and that actually causes the stem and root to thicken. Now here in the question, it is talking about xylem. Now we know that there are 2 types of vascular bundles. It is xylem and phloem. Now when the secondary growth is taking place in the xylem, that means it is causing the xylem to expand and to get thickened. Now let's read the statement. And once this secondary growth is happening in plant, it will cause the plants to resistant to the insect attack. Now let's read the statement. It is a secretion of secondary metabolite and the deposition in the lumen of vessels. One more point to note here, this secondary growth, it is caused due to the deposition of aromatic compounds or the secondary metabolites that synthesize itself by the plant. So these metabolites, they are synthesized by the plants and they get accumulated inside the stem. So there are basically 3 layers of the stem. One is the peripheral stem and the other one is the innermost, and the in between the outer and the inner stem layer, there is a central part. So this accumulation of aromatic compounds or simply secondary metabolites or organic compound, it takes place in the central layers of stem as well as the innermost, but not in the outer layer of stem. So now let's come to the point number 8. It is a secretion of secondary metabolite, yes, and the deposition in the lumen of vessels. Now we all know that xylem, it is having tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fiber. Now in the question, you can see secondary growth is taking place in xylem. That means the accumulation of all the organic substances, it is taken place in the subpart of xylem. And we all know that vessels, it is a subpart of xylem. That means this statement is a right statement. Now let's read the next statement, that is B. Deposition of organic compounds like tannins and resins in the central layers of the stem. Yes, I've already mentioned that these organic compounds, they get accumulated either in the central layer, center part or the innermost part, but not in the peripheral layers. So again, this answer is the right answer. Deposition of suberin and aromatic compartment in the outer layer of a stem. No ways. It is not deposited in the outer layer. Deposition of tannin, gum, resin and aromatic substances in the peripheral layer. Again, it is talking about outer layer. You can see how smartly they are framing the question. This outer and peripheral, both are same. So again, this is the wrong answer. Presence of parenchyma cell, functionally active xylem elements and essential oils. This is saying about something else. Now here, the secondary growth, it is not active. Here, this deposition of aromatic compounds takes place and is actually providing the plant a outer hard covering. So this is not the functionally active. Now we have found after reading 5 statements, only 2 statements are right statement. That is option A and B. So here you have to choose the correct answer from the options given below. So here you can see third option as the right answer because it has A and B statement as the right answer. And we have already read all the 5 statements and we have come to the conclusion that for this question, that is 101 in S3 paper code, the right answer is option 3. So I'm going to deal with the S3 paper code. Now you have 4 different kinds of code. So here I'm basically dealing with the S3 paper code. So accordingly, I have taken questions from this paper. So now let's move to the next questions. That is 102. Read the following statement and choose the correct set of statement. Now here you have to find this word that is correct. Now you have to choose the correct statement. Euchromatin is loosely packed chromatin. So before coming to this statement, you all know that chromosomes, they are functionally and structurally have 2 distinguishable territories. One is the euchromatin and the other one is heterochromatin. We all know that U stands for true and hetero means something complex. So euchromatin means true chromatin that will actually be transcribed into a protein or translated into a protein, or simply it is helping in the gene expression. But the other one, it is a gene poor. That means it is very deficient in gene. It is not having the rich genes or the active genes. That means it will not take a part in gene expression. Who? Heterochromatin. This euchromatin, it is gene rich. And it is a transcriptionally active part of the gene because it is gene rich. It is rich in genes. That means these genes will be somehow translated into protein and helping in gene expression. And also this euchromatin, it is loosely arranged, not tightly packed. But conversely, this heterochromatin, it is tightly packed. It is highly condensed and it is gene poor. That means it is inactive. Now let's read the statement. Euchromatin is a loosely packed chromatin. Yes, I've already mentioned that this is a loosely packed chromatin because this is transcriptionally active. Then what is the function of heterochromatin? Heterochromatin actually assists this euchromatin for the gene expression and it maintains the integrity of the genome. So euchromatin is mainly helping in gene expression because it is a loosely packed chromatin. And here you have to select the correct statement. So option A is the right answer because it is loosely packed. Heterochromatin is transcriptionally active. So this statement is the wrong statement. Why? Because euchromatin is active because it is gene rich region. But this heterochromatin, it is inactive. So this option goes wrong here. Now the third is histone octamer. Now third 3 statement, that is C, D and E, it is given about DNA ka arrangement. Now you all may be knowing about the nucleosome model. So what is this nucleosome model of DNA? So in the nucleosome model, this histone octamers are arranged, that is H2A, H2B, H3 and H4. And to this a DNA helix are wrapped. So this histone octamer, they are basically made up of positive charged amino acid. Now what is a positive charged amino acid? That has amino terminal. Now you all know that this amino terminal or that terminal that is making the amino acids positively charged is lysine and arginine because they have the amino terminal. And to this, a negatively charged DNA wraps around it. What does it do? This histone octamer and DNA, they together form the nucleosome model. So what is nucleosome model? It is a mixture of both the histone octamer as well as the DNA helix. Now this histone octamer is positively charged, but the DNA helix is negatively charged. Why this is negatively charged? Because of the phosphate backbone. Now let's see the statement C, D and E. So we have already solved statement A and B. Now let's come to further statement. Histone octamer is wrapped by negatively charged DNA in the nucleosome. Very right statement because it is forming nucleosome when histone octamer plus negatively charged DNA is there. But histone octamer, it is a positively charged because of the positive charge of basic amino acids like lysine and arginine. So now let's see D statement. Histones are rich in lysine and arginine. Right statement. C also was right. A typical nucleosome contains 200 base pairs of DNA helix. Now when this DNA wraps around the histone octamer, it forms nucleosome, but here it has some limit. Only 160 to 200 base pairs of histones or DNA, they are wrapped around the histone octamer. not 400. So here, if instead of 400 it was 200, then again this was the right option. But here this option goes wrong. Now here we have to select the correct statement. We have seen this A statement is the correct statement, C and D. So where you can find A, C and D in the option? We can find A, C, D only in the 4 option, that is A, C and D. So this option goes right. So I'm sure this is clear to everyone. So now let's move to question number 103. So what is this question about? This question is about DNA electrophoresis. Now we all know that electrophoresis is a technique that is used for the migration of charged particle under the influence of electric field. Electro means electric field. Phoresis means phoretic, means movement. Here the charged particles such as genetic material, DNA and RNA, they are moved under the influence of electric field. Now what happens when you want to visualize your DNA? So why you are performing this electrophoresis? So as to see your DNA of interest. So now you have isolated the DNA, extracted the DNA from the source. It can be a plant source or a microbial source. So if you're isolating that DNA and observing it under a UV trans illuminator, what you will get? You will get the dark, bright color bands that will be for orange color. Why orange color you are seen under UV light? Because of the ethidium bromide dye that you've already added in the solution. Now what happens while you perform electrophoresis, this bright orange color dye, that is ethidium bromide, it will bind to the or intercalate to the DNA segment. And what it will show? It will give you a bright orange color when seen under UV light. So now let's see the statement. The presence of chromogenic substrate gives you blue color DNA bands on the gel. It is not blue color, but it is a bright orange color. So this option is the wrong option. Bright orange color bands of DNA can be observed in the gel when exposed to UV light. Yes, when you isolated the DNA, and if you want to observe this DNA or gene of interest under UV light, you will see it as a bright orange color because of ETBR dye. So this statement is right. The process of extraction of separated DNA from the gel is called elution. Now suppose you have found your gene of interest under the UV transilluminator. What you will do? Your DNA is inside the well. What you will do? You will just cut the DNA fragment or the DNA bands from the gel. So cutting of this DNA is what called as elution. You are eluting this DNA. So this is the right statement. The separated DNA fragments are stained by using ethidium bromide. Again, this 2 and 4th statement, they are interrelated to each other. So both the statements are correct. C, D and B. So B, C and D, they all 3 are correct. So the wrong answer is the first option. So what is the correct answer option? So here the correct answer, not true, where you have to find the not true statement. Not true, that means incorrect. So we have seen that first option is the incorrect option because it is telling about blue color. But we have already mentioned this is not because of blue color, but because of bright orange color. So the first option is the right answer, where you have to pick the incorrect statement in the question. That is not true. So now let's move to question number 104 under botany. That is exoskeleton of arthropods is composed of. Now you all know that arthropods, it is one of the biggest phylum under animal kingdom. So that is what called as arthropoda. Now what is this exoskeleton? Skeleton means outer part. Exo means outside. So outside skeleton, it is made up of chitin. So this exoskeleton of either arthropods or fungal cell wall, they are made up of chitin. Now what is this chitin? Chitin is a polymer. It is a polymer of N-acetyl glucosamine. When N-acetyl glucosamine monomers, they are arranged together and they will constitute a polymers. That means this chitin is a polymer for the monomeric unit, that is N-acetyl glucosamine. Now let's read the options. Exoskeleton of arthropod is composed of either chitin, glucosamine. Now see how smartly they have given the glucosamine. But if you are getting tricked by this question, so what you will do, you will just mark the option B. But here you have to select the exact or the suitable answer. Now this chitin is a polymer and it is made up of N-acetyl glucosamine. But here in the option B, you can just check it is given glucosamine but not N-acetyl. That means this option is wrong. Abhi tak humne dekha, this chitin is the right answer. Now let's coming to option C, that is cutin. We all know that cutin, it is a derived lipid. So again, this is a wrong option. And cellulose, it is a polysaccharide, that is carbohydrate. Now here we have to select the correct answer option. So out of 4 options, we have just seen that chitin, it is the right answer that is responsible for forming the exoskeleton of all the arthropods as well as fungal cell wall. So the right answer is option 1. So now let's move to question number 105. So again, you have to match the column 1 and column 2 that is given here. Now here what they are not giving anything, they are just giving you have to match list 1 with list 2. Now in list 1 they have given you the name of the elements, whether it can be trace or major element, you don't have to be worried. You just have to match these elements with their significant role. Now let's see one by one and match the following. So now here list 1 and list 2 is given. List 2 is for function, where the function of these elements are defined. Now we all know that manganese. Manganese is an element or a trace element which is responsible for non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Now we all know that during non-cyclic photophosphorylation, splitting of water takes place and then the electrons are emitted that are again accepted by the electron acceptor. So where this splitting of water is taking place in non-cyclic respiration, photophosphorylation. So this manganese is for 4 options. So A with 4. Because this manganese is responsible for the splitting of water during photosynthesis. All right. So now let's come to magnesium. Now magnesium, it is a major element which is responsible for activating different enzymes, whether it is metabolic processes like respiration or photosynthesis. Now again, you can see the option that is saying about activation of enzymes for respiration. Now you will say, ma'am, why in option 4 we are not selecting photosynthesis? Because you have mentioned that this is responsible for activating the enzymes for both respiration and photosynthesis. But again, I'm saying you have to pick the suitable answer. Now, manganese, it is responsible for splitting of water. So you have seen the splitting of water, that is a term or the terminology in option 4. So manganese will always go for 4. That means A with 4. Where we can find A with 4 only in 2 options, that is option 4 as well as option first. Magnesium, it is responsible for the activation of enzyme during the metabolic pathways like respiration. So where we can find B with 3, we can find B with 3 only in one option, that is option 4. Now let's move to the other option and check if they're right or wrong. So boron, it is responsible for the requirement of C with D. Second, pollen germination. So why pollen germination is essential? It is essential for the or important for the double fertilization that is taking place in angiospermic plant. So boron is for option second. So it is responsible for pollen germination, as well as iron. It is responsible for the activation of the catalase enzyme, which actually causes the degradation of hydrogen peroxide into hydrogen and oxygen. So D with go with 1. So option 4 is the right answer here. So now let's move to question number 106. DNA polymorphism, it forms the basis of. So now here 4 options are given. So what is DNA polymorphism? Poly means many. Morphism means forms. When DNA ka variant, they have many forms, that is what called as DNA polymorphism. So there is always a difference in the variants or the forms of DNA that is making the actually the individuals differ. So how you are looking different, how we are not similar? Because of this DNA polymorphism, because there happens a substitution mutation in the sequence of the DNA. That is actually what the DNA polymorphism. Then what is the significance of this? It is actually responsible for the DNA fingerprinting. Now, what is this DNA fingerprinting? Where you can just suspect the criminal, or it is used for diagnostic purpose. Like if some individual, if they have committed crime and you wanted to know who is actually the criminal, so that time this DNA polymorphism is actually important or needed. So this is exploited in case of DNA fingerprinting. So this forms the basis of DNA fingerprinting, and also you can use it for genetic mapping. So you can see here in option C and D, they have given this option separately, that is genetic mapping as well as DNA fingerprinting. But if you are knowing only about DNA fingerprinting, that time you will choose option D. But dear students, it is also used for genetic mapping. That means the first answer is the right answer. For both genetic mapping and DNA fingerprinting, that is the first answer option is right answer. So now let's move to the next question, that is 107. The gaseous plant growth regulator is used in plant 2. Now coming to gaseous plant regulator. Now what are these plant regulators? That will regulate the growth of the plants. Now these plant growth regulators are nothing but the plant hormones. Now we have different kinds of plant hormones such as auxin, gibberellic, cytokinins, ethylene, as well as many other hormones are there. So now if you're not knowing about hormone, you cannot solve this question because it is not talking about the ethylene, auxin, gibberellic. It is just asking about the gaseous plant hormone. Now this gaseous plant hormone, we all know that it's ethylene. So now you have to mention the function of ethylene, which is the correct answer option. You have to choose the right answer for this question. But if you are knowing the gaseous plant regulator, that is ethylene. So now it helps overcome apical dominance. So this is not the function of ethylene because this apical dominance, it is promoted by auxin phytohormone, but in actual, towards it, cytokinin will work and will act to suppress the effect of apical dominance. So this statement, that is statement A, it is for cytokinin, not ethylene. So it is for cytokinin. So this option is wrong because we have to select the correct answer or option which actually signifies the function of plant growth regulator, that is gaseous in nature, and that is ethylene. Now let's see second option. So this option is wrong for sure. Now let's see second option. It killed dicotyledonous weeds in the fields. So when I was taking the NEET revision series for these plant hormones, there I have mentioned this. Auxin is used as a weedicide. So that means it is used for the killing of weeds. Weeds means unwanted plants. So this auxin is used but not ethylene. So again, this option is a wrong option. Speed up the malting process. Now this malting process, it is responsible for the germination of the seed. And we know that it's a very crucial hormone, that is gibberellic acid, that is actually needed for the malting process. So again, this is wrong. And the last statement will be the right statement. Now let's see if this is right or wrong. So D talks about promote root growth and root hair formation to increase the absorption of surface. So we all know that auxin, it helps in the root formation. But this ethylene, it always assists auxin to promote more numbers of root, and into that more hairs will be there. So this is the right option where it promotes the root growth and the root hair formation. So the right option for this question is option 4, because here you have to choose the gaseous plant hormone ka function. That is ethylene ka function you have to choose, and only D is the function for the ethylene hormone. So the D is the right answer. So now let's move to 108 question. That is about two statements are given, and here you have to select whether both the statements are correct or incorrect or incorrect. Now let's see and read the statement. So statement first, it is talking about the primary CO2 acceptor in C4 plants. It's phosphoenol pyruvate and is found in the mesophyll cell. Now this C4 plant, we all know that photosynthesis, it is taking place in all kinds of plants, whether it is C3 or C4. Now this C3 plant, in C3 plant, this carbon dioxide is actually accepted by the Rubisco enzyme and forming the a stable product, that is what called as oxaloacetic acid. In C3, it is phosphoenol pyruvate. So phosphoglyceric acid. So in C4 plant, it is oxaloacetic acid. But who is forming this acceptor? What is the acceptor in case of C4 plants? It is PAP, that is phosphoenol pyruvate. So this phosphoenol pyruvate is actually the acceptor in C4 plant. That means this is the right statement, and this is found in the mesophyll cells. Now we have two different kinds of cells in the plants which is operating C4 cycle. One is the mesophyll cell and the other one is the bundle sheath cell. And you can see here, this is mesophyll cell and the other one is the bundle sheath cell. Now in mesophyll cells, this phosphoenol pyruvate is actually accepting the atmospheric CO2 and is forming the 4-carbon acetic acid, that is what called as oxaloacetic acid. Now this is found in the mesophyll cell. That means this statement is correct. Now let's read the other statement. Mesophyll cells of C4 plant lack Rubisco enzyme. Yes, it lacks Rubisco enzyme because you can see Rubisco enzyme where it is needed or important for C3 cycle. But this C4 plant, it always runs C3 as well as C4 cycle. So this C3 cycle will always run in bundle sheath cells of mesophyll cells or bundle sheath cells of the C4 plant. So here only this enzyme will be present, which is actually responsible for the C3 cycle, that is Rubisco. So where Rubisco will be present? In the bundle sheath cell, not in the mesophyll. So this is talking about mesophyll cells lack Rubisco enzyme. Yes, this is true, because where Rubisco is present? In bundle sheath cells. So both the options are correct. We have seen both the options are correct. We have also seen the pathway. So now let's read the question. In the light of the above statement, what the statement is given, choose the correct answer from the option given below. You have to choose the correct answer. Statement 1 is correct. Yes, it is correct. Statement 2 is incorrect. Wrong, because it was also correct. Statement 1 is incorrect and the statement 2 is correct. Wrong. Both the statements are correct. Yes, both the statements are correct. So option 3 is the right answer for this question. Now let's move to question 109. Habitat loss and fragmentation, overexploitation, alien species invasion, and extinction. They are the causes for. Now we all know that if there will be a population explosion, means more number of individuals in a community. What it will do? It will cause the overexploitation of resources. That means all resources will go. This overexploitation of resources is because of the population explosion. So we can see exploitation of resources. It is because of the population explosion. Now this co-extinction, it is always seen in case of competition. When two individuals, they compete each other for whether in terms of shelter, food, or for mating purpose. So they always compete with each other, and there happens a co-extinction phenomena. Now again, this competition, it goes for co-extension, and this population explosion, it is for over-exploitation, because it will cause the exploitation of resources that is present in an ecosystem. Now here, both the options are present in this question. Now we are left with two options, that is biodiversity loss and natality. We all know that natality is the birth, means more number of individuals are added in a community because of a birth. That is what called as natality. Then what is biodiversity loss? When the population explosion, that is overexploitation of resources, co-extension, because of competition, it is all taking place and leading to the habitat loss and fragmentation. And when some alien species is entering into this community, this will always result into a biodiversity loss. So biodiversity loss के क्या-क्या feature है जो यहाँ पे given है. So all these four features, they are the feature or significant for biodiversity loss. So right answer for this question is option A, that is biodiversity loss. Now let's move to question number 110, that is 10th question under botany. So again, you can see this is a second question from phytohormone. Production of cucumber has increased many-fold in recent years. Application of which of the following phytohormones has resulted in this increased yield, as the hormone is known to produce the female flowers in the plants? Now it has given an experimental kind of question where again they are focusing on the functions of phytohormones. So you have just seen two questions from just the function of phytohormones. So now again it is talking about what phytohormones is responsible for the production of female flowers. But if you are not knowing about the function of hormones, you will not do this question. So because no hint is given, just it is asking about the which phytohormones plays a role in the production of female flowers. Now we all know that it's ethylene. Ethylene always promotes the function of this or the number of this female flower in plants. So it always promotes this female flowers in cucumber as well as cucurbits. So when I was explaining this hormone chapter, I mentioned this, it always promotes this female flower plants in cucumber as well as cucurbits. And you have got a question from here, that cucumber. Now you can see here this cucumber has more number of female flower just because of the ethylene hormone. But make sure if here it is given about the size. So the increase in size, it is done by gibberellic acid. But here it is asking about the number. More female flower, that means the right answer is the option 1. Because more number will go for ethylene. But if it is in size ke liye always gibberellic acid or gibberellin is responsible. So now let's move to 11th question, that is 111. The appearance of recombination nodules on homologous chromosome during meiosis characterizes. Now we all know that cell division. There are two phases, mitosis or meiosis. So meiosis, it takes place in germ cells or sex cells, that is sperm and egg. So what happens, this diploid will be converted to haploid. Now again, there are two phases of meiosis. One is meiosis 1 and the other one is meiosis 2. This meiosis 2 is exactly the same as mitosis or cell division that is taking place inside the somatic cells. Now what about meiosis 1? Now under meiosis 1, we have 5 different stages. That is leptoteny, zygoteny, pachyteny, diploteny as well as diakinesis. But if you are knowing about the significance of these statements, only then you can make out this question. Now what happens in leptoteny? Condensation of chromosome. What happens in zygoteny? There happens a pairing of homologous chromosome where actually the recombination is going to take place, where actually the crossing over will take place between sperm and ovum, between two cells or homologous chromosome. What is pachyteny? This is actually the crossing over phase where recombination will take place. So for this, pachyteny, zygoteny is the preparatory phase where all the preparation will take place for the crossing over, that is recombination. This diploteny, what happens? This again, whatever preparation is done in zygoteny, it will be dissoluted. Means all the preparation will be undone. And what is diakinesis? Dissolution of the nuclear membrane. So now let's see the question what it is talking about. The appearance of recombination nodule. Again, recombination word per year, you don't need to study the whole question. Recombination nodule as well as meiosis. It is the function of why recombination nodule is forming. Nodule means एक ऐसा space or sac where recombination will take place. And recombination means crossing over, which is taking place in pachyteny stage. So now let's read the option. Which is the correct answer option? Sites at which the crossing over takes place. Yes, this is the right answer. Recombination nodules means recombination. Something will recombine. What will recombine? Two cells or two alleles they will recombine, or simply chromosomes. So site at which the crossing over will take place and leads to the formation of new individual or baby, that is what called as crossing over. So this takes place in pachyteny. So the right answer is the option first. Now let's move to question 112. Which of the following is not a method of ex situ conservation? Now conservation नाम से पता चल रहा है to conserve something. To conserve something, to maintain the ecosystem. Now how the ecosystem will be maintained? If the species, plant or animal species, they are conserved. Now how they can be conserved? They can be conserved either with the help of in situ mode or ex situ. What is in situ? नाम से ही पता चल रहा है the conservation that is done where the plants and animals resides. इसके natural place में. And when we are taking out this plants or animal, or we are conserving it with some other habitat or outside their natural habitat, that is what called as ex situ. Now if you are knowing the examples of ex situ conservation, they are botanical garden, zoological parks, as well as wildlife sanctuary. Now here you have to select which is not a method of ex situ conservation. So this is actually for in situ. So what is not a method of ex situ conservation? National park, because national park, wildlife sanctuary as well as zoological parks, they are for in situ. Now all these options, it is for ex situ conservation. What is given over here? That is micropropagation, cryopreservation as well as in vitro fertilization, that is ex situ conservation, because we are doing in vitro fertilization in some other place where animals are not there or plants are not there. Cryopreservation is done in some other place, micropropagation in some other place, but where there is natural habitat, we can conserve this ecosystem or directly plants and animals in their natural habitat. This is what called as national parks, wildlife sanctuaries as well as zoological parks. So this is an example for in situ conservation, not ex situ. Which is the correct answer option? What is asking? Not a method of ex situ. Then what is not a method of ex situ? It is national parks. So the right answer is option 4. Now let's move to other question, that is 113. Which one of the following produces nitrogen fixing nodules on the roots of alnus? Now we all know that there are two types of nitrogen fixer. The one that can fix the nitrogen, the atmospheric nitrogen that is present in the free form in the atmosphere into the leguminous plant. And leguminous plant ke किस area में? Into the roots. But the other one that fix the nitrogen that is available in the atmosphere in the roots of the non-leguminous plant. ठीक है, means symbiotic relation is taking place either in leguminous or non-leguminous plant. But now it is asking you about the roots of alnus. Now here make sure that you are knowing about the alnus plant. Alnus, it is a symbiotic association that is taking place in the non-leguminous plant. Now, what are the examples of these leguminous plant? Pea, bean, lentils, that means chana or matar. Then what is non-leguminous? That is alnus. Alnus ka kya hoga? There will be some roots. Suppose this is alnus plant. So there will be some root nodules. So in this root nodules, nitrogen will be fixed by the microorganism. So now let's read the option. Which is the correct answer option? Rhodospirillum, Bezoarrhynchia, Rhizobium, Frankia. Now this nitrogen, it is fixed in the root of leguminous plant with the help of rhizobium. So rhizobium is always for leguminous plant. So you can omit this option. Rhizobium can't be the option. Right answer. Why? Because this alnus is a non-leguminous plant. And we all know that rhizobium is a bacterium that will fix the free atmosphere inside the root nodules of the leguminous plant or is in symbiotic association with this plant. So Frankia is an example of this non-leguminous symbiotic association where all the nitrogen that is present in the atmosphere, it will be fixed inside the roots of a non-leguminous plant, that is alnus. So यहाँ पे if you are knowing about the example of an alnus or like this is a non-leguminous plant, so you can solve this question. So the right answer for this question is Frankia. So this Frankia is an example of bacterium that is actually responsible for fixing all the nitrogen that is available in the atmosphere into the roots of non-leguminous plant, that is alnus. So now let's come to question number 114. Now let's read this question, what it is talking about. Which one of the following statement cannot be connected to predation? Now we all know that there are many types of relationship like predation, commensalism, amensalism. Now what happens in predation? Predation means plus and minus relationship. Why plus minus? Because there will be a fighting between two individuals. Suppose there are two individuals, A and B, or two animals you can consider. The name for this animal is A and B. Suppose this A individual or animal, it is feeding for B because B is a food for A. That means A is a predator. It will get its benefit. Why? Because it is getting its food from B. And then B will serve as a prey. This is what called as predation relationship, where one will be benefited and the other will have harm. Why other will be harm? Because this will get eliminated from the ecosystem. This will be died. Why? Because this is serving as a food for A. That is the predator. B will die. That means it is eliminating from the predator, this ecosystem. But make sure predator will be there because it is enjoying this food. Feast for predator. Con? Prey. Prey is a feast for predator. So predator will always remain in the ecosystem. और जब उसका लाइफ टाइम कंप्लीट होगा only then it will become die. But at this point of time, this prey is eliminated from this ecosystem. Now let's read the statement. Both the interacting species are negatively impacted. Very wrong. Because one is positively impacted and the other one is negatively. Who is positively impacted here? It's predator because it is having its food from the prey. It is necessitated by nature to maintain the ecological balance. Yes, everything happens for a reason. Why this predation and all kinds of relationship is there in the ecosystem or in a community? Just to maintain the ecological balance. So yes, this is the right statement. It helps in maintaining species diversity in a community. Yes, suppose this prey is eliminated, so this diversity will be eliminated. So it is actually maintaining or regulating the species diversity or community ka ecosystem. Again, this is true. It might lead to the extinction of a species. Yes, it might lead to. So suppose if predator is killing this prey, so this prey will be eliminated, right? Because it is having this prey for its food. So this prey will be eliminated, that is, it is leading to the extinction of the species. Now let's see which is the correct answer option. So here you have to select the which is not connected to predation. So the option first is not connected to predation, where it is talking about both the species are negatively impacted. Absolute statement, not both the species. One is positively impacted and the other one is negatively impacted because it is becoming died. So the option first is the right answer here. Now let's move to 15th question, that is question 115. Now let's see what is this question about. Now what is the name of the device which is used to actually remove the particulate matter that is present in the exhaust from the thermal power plant? Now, if we know that electrostatic precipitator is a device which is actually used to remove the particulate matter and cause the precipitation of this. Now, when this dust particle or smoke will be precipitated, obviously it will be removed. That means precipitator will precipitate something, will remove something. That means the right answer is precipitator. And how this dust or smoke are removed? It is removed with the help of the force that is induced by the electrostatic charge. So there will be an electrostatic charge that is actually causing the removal of this dust. So what is the name of the device? Question में ही दिया है. Removing means precipitating. If precipitating, precipitator. Teacher teaches. Precipitator precipitates something. So this precipitator will precipitate what? Dust particle, that is actually the fine particle, or in other term, particulate matter. So now let's move to question number 116. Identify the incorrect statement related to pollination. Now we know that there are different kinds of pollination. Why pollination is happening? Just as to promote the flower production. Now what happens in pollination? The anthers का जितना भी pollen grain है, it will fall over the stigma of the ovary, stigma of the female reproductive tract, or simply pistil. Now pistil में क्या क्या होता है? Carpel has stigma, style and ovary. So here the pollen grains will be attached to this sticky female reproductive parts in plants, not in animals, in plants. So we are dealing about botany. So botany means plants. So here you have to consider the fertilization in plants, not animals. So pollination is taking place in plants where the flowers produce foul odors to attract flies and beetles. So how these pollen grains are actually carried to the female reproductive tract? Now suppose there are two different plants. If pollen grain has to travel from here to here, who will carry it? Plants तो खुद चल के आएगा नहीं, है ना? Who will carry it? These insects or mediator or wind. बहुत तेज हवा चली, this transfer of pollen grain will happen. Or even rain means waterphily, aerophily, मतलब hydrophily, water के through transmission is taking place. What is transferred? This pollen grain is transferred to the stigma of another flower. This is what called as cross pollination because it is happening between two different species. So what happens? How these flies and beetles, they are carrying this to the next flower because the flower is producing some odor, some smell that is actually attracting insect towards it. So flowers produce foul odors to attract flies and beetles to get pollinated. Very true. They will attract this. Moths and butterflies are the most dominating polling agents among insects. Now here you can see, student, it is talking about the incorrect statement. So I've already mentioned about the tricks how to approach to question when I was taking this series for PYQ's discussion. There I have mentioned like you have to omit the exclusive statement. Now here you can see are the most dominant pollinating species. They are not the most dominant. Firstly, these bees are the most dominating pollinating species, not butterflies and moths. But again, if you are not knowing, then you can omit this statement and pick it as a right answer because it is having the most dominant. Absolute things will never be right. So this is the wrong option. Pollination by water, that is hydrophily, is quite rare in flowering plant. हाँ, बहुत rare है because maximum times these insects such as bees will help in the pollination or wind will help. So pollination by wind is more common amongst abiotic pollination. So all these options are correct except the second option. So you have to select the correct answer option. Now what it is asking about? Incorrect. You have to actually select the incorrect option. Now what is the incorrect option? That is option 2. So the right answer is answer 2. That is option B. So now let's move to question number 117. It's a direct question where you have to know about the plasticity and its example. So which one of the following doesn't show plasticity? Now if you have noticed, many times they are asking this time in exam what is incorrect and does not. So they are not asking what is there. What is not there, you have to select this statement. So if you have made a mistake, that means that option will be wrong for you. So here it is asking for doesn't show plasticity. Now what is plasticity? Plasticity is a mechanism or process by which plants adopt different pathway to resist to the environmental stress. Now there are different kinds of stress that are faced by plants. Even we are also facing, right? So plants faces different kinds of stress. It can be biotic or it can be abiotic. कुछ सूखापन हो गया, that means drought stress. So what will happen? Plant will adopt different pathway and will make itself resistant to that. उसको वहां पे survive करना, it has to survive. This is what called as plasticity. Now this plasticity it is commonly seen in case of coriander, cotton and buttercup. These three plants, they will show this plasticity, where you can see heterophilic condition. But in place maize, this plasticity is not seen. And here you have to select the option that will not show plasticity. Then this plasticity is not seen in maize. So this option is the right answer. So now let's move to question 118. What amount of energy is released from glucose during lactic acid fermentation? Now again, lactic acid fermentation means it is focusing or signifying respiration. Now we all know respiration, there are two types of respiration. One is aerobic and the other one is anaerobic. Under anaerobic respiration, we have fermentation. And if you know, among fermentation, we have lactic acid. This lactic acid fermentation produces only 2 ATPs. But what happens in case of aerobic respiration? It produces a large number of ATPs or a large amount where you will get 36 to 38 ATPs in number. That is actually the more number. Now here fermentation means anaerobic. That means glucose is not completely oxidized. If glucose is not oxidized, that means there will be a low production of energy. Then there will be a low production of energy. So where you can find the low number? 7%. 2 ATP is nothing. If we compare aerobic respiration ka even 36 ATP and to 2 ATP, it's nothing. Okay? So what would be the answer? It is less than 7%. So this is the information based question. But if you are not knowing the correct information or the facts regarding lactic acid, but even if you are knowing the 2 ATPs, that means the 7%, even less than 7%, you have to select the lower value. Because here you have to compare this 2 ATP with 36 ATPs of aerobic respiration. So the right answer is option 2, that is less than 7%. Now let's move to question 119. Girdling experiment was performed by plant physiologists to identify the plant's tissue through which. Now, why this girdling experiment was performed? This girdling experiment, it was performed by the scientists just as to prove that phloem is actually the vascular bundle or the tissue that causes the transport of food. It actually causes the translocation of food, that too in one direction, because the food is synthesized in the leaves. So this food will translocate to the root parts and to other parts of the plant. So it will always cause the translocation of food only in one direction, that is unidirectional. But in contrast to this, xylem, that is another vascular bundle, it is causing the translocation of water and mineral. But this girdling experiment, it was for phloem, and phloem is to food and xylem is to water and mineral. That means water is यहाँ से हटा दिया जाएगा, it is omitted, and water का osmosis होता है, again osmosis is omitted. So it is responsible for only food, not water. So water and osmosis. What is osmosis? It is a process of movement of water molecule or simply solvent molecule. But here it is all for water. But हमने क्या बोला? Girdling experiment, it is for phloem. That means which proves the translocation of food in phloem, it is unidirectional. It is taking place by phloem itself. So food is the right answer. That is option 4 is the right answer for this question. That is 19th question under botany. Now let's see question number 120. Which one of the following plants show maxillary aestivation and diadelphous stamens? Now what is stamen? It is a male reproductive structure which has anther and the filament. Okay? Inside this, pollen grains will be there. I was talking about pollen grains during pollination in the previous slide. So this pollen grain will be inside the anther. So when these all anthers mature, they will burst out and release pollen grain. So what is diadelphous? Naam se pata chala, dia means two. So how they will be two stamen? When many stamen ka filament, they will get fused and they form two bundle. That is what called as diadelphous. That means anthers will be free. Only the filaments will be fused and they are forming two bunch. That is what called as diadelphous. So diadelphous stamen and maxillary aestivation. What is aestivation? When the sepals and petals are arranged in a flower, this is actually what called as aestivation. And what is maxillary? When two small petals of a flower, they are covered by a large petal, keel petal. So that is what called as maxillary aestivation. Now, if you see this vexillary aestivation and diadelphous stamen, it is a characteristic of the family that is Fabaceae. Fabaceae, or simply we can call it as a Leguminosae. Now, we all know that inside the Fabaceae we have Pisum sativum, that is garden pea, mutter. So, mutter belongs to a Leguminosae family. So, Pisum sativum is a feature, is a plant which has vexillary aestivation and diadelphous. And why we are not taking other options into account? Because Colchicum autumnale as well as Allium cepa, they belongs to Liliaceae family. But this both features, they are for this Fabaceae or Leguminosae. And again, Solanum is from Solanaceae family. So here the right answer is option 4, that is Pisum sativum. Now let's move to question 121. Now this question, if you see, it is asking for the correct statement. Correct answer from the option given below. But if you read the statement for vascular bundle, all the 5 statements, they are true. But if you see the option, none of the option has all the options like A, B, C, D, E as a correct answer. So according to this, no option as they are there. You can see A, B, C, D answer only. A, B, C, D, one option is missing in all. But if you see this option, correct answer is all the statements are correct. That means it is a wrong question from their side. So we are waiting for the official answer key till the auntie approves for it, and then we'll come back and discuss this question. So accordingly, all the 5 statements are correct. But here in the option, it is not given. So all of your, if students have attended this option or question, they will get a bonus mark for it. Why? Because here no option says about all options are correct. In every option, at least one option is missing. But if you read the statement, if you go through it, all the options are correct. So let the auntie approves the answer key for it. Let's wait for the official answer, and then we'll discuss this question. So now let's move to question 112. Which one of the following never occurs during mitotic cell division? Now, mitotic cell division means it is talking about mitosis. And we know there are 2 types of division, that is mitosis and meiosis. In meiosis, I've already mentioned LZP diploteny diakinesis. So here, this zygoteny, pairing of homologous chromosome was taking place. And recombination was taking place in pachyteny. That means it is a feature of meiosis, not mitosis. That means this option goes wrong. And it is asking about which never occurs in mitosis. And this will happen in meiosis, not mitosis. Coiling and condensation of the chromatin. Now we have 4 different stages in under mitosis. PMAT, that is prophase, metaphase, anaphase, as well as telophase. Under prophase, we have the condensation of chromosomes. So this is for the prophase. Yes, this is the feature of mitosis. This is right. Spindle fiber attached to kinetochores of chromosome. This is a feature of metaphase. Again, this is under mitosis. This is right. Movement of centriole towards opposite pole. This is a feature of anaphase, which is again coming under mitosis. But here you have to select the correct answer, which is not coming under mitosis, means which is a part of meiosis. Then what is a part of meiosis? This pairing of homologous chromosome, which is actually taking place in zygoteny stage of meiosis. So the right answer for this question according to this is option A, that means option 1. Now let's move to question number 123. Now here you have to tell about the cleistogamous flower. Now here you have to read the statement and answer if both the statement are correct or incorrect. So statement 1 is given about cleistogamous flowers are invariably autogamous. Now we all know that there are 2 different types of flowers. One is cleistogamous and the other one is chasmogamous. What is cleistogamous? That means the flower will always be closed. If the flowers will close, how will the cross pollination will take place? How will the bees or the insect from outside they'll come? They'll take pollen grains and fertilize this stigma or the female reproductive tract, because the flowers are closed. They are not open. Closed or not open, both are same. But what is chasmogamous? The flower that is open. And if the flower is closed, that is cleistogamous, only self fertilization will take place. मीन्स जो भी फ्लावर में स्टिग्मा एंड एंथर होगा, फीमेल एंड मेल रिप्रोडक्टिव, ओनली दैट विल फर्टिलाइज. कोई भी आउटसाइड का क्रॉस पॉलिनेशन will not take place. That means it is autogamous. Means fertilization are taking place in the same flower. Auto means self, means flower is closed. That means outside agent are not coming to fertilize this flower. Autogamous means self-fertilization is taking place. Yes, correct. If the flowers is closed, there are no chances of cross-pollination because it is closed. Where will the insects come and sit on the flower? Or simply the stigma. So this is invariably autogamous. That is true. Now statement 2, Christogamy is disadvantageous. Now it is talking about the disadvantages of Clistogamous flower, as there is no chance for cross pollination. Yes, this is true, because if the flower is closed, only self pollination will take place. That is, it is autogamous flower, but there will be a no chance for cross pollination. That means it is the right statement. Both these statements are the right statement. Now let's see the question and answer accordingly. In the light of the above statement, choose the correct answer from the option given below. We have to choose the correct answer. And what is the correct answer according to us? What we have read and made the conclusion for it. Both the statements are correct. So now where we can find the both statement as the correct statement? Only in third option, that is both the statement 1 and 2 are correct. Means both the statement are correct. So the option third is the right answer for this question number 1, 2, 3. That is 23rd question in botany section. Now let's move to question 1 to 4. Identify the correct statements and you have to answer the question. Now you have to identify what are the correct statements under these 5 statements given below. The leaflets are modified into pointed hard thorns in citrus and bougainvillea. Now you know thorns means kaate. They are present in citrus and bougainvillea, but how these thorns are made? What part of plant is modified into thorns? It is axillary bud, not leaflet. Not the leaflet are modified into thorn, but is actually the axillary bud that is coming out of the plants. So this is axillary bud, not leaflet. So this option is wrong. So this axillary bud will always modify into thorns in citrus or bougainvillea. So now let's read the next statement. Axillary buds form slender and spirally coiled tendril in cucumber as well as pumpkin. This is the information based statement and this is the right option. Stem is flattened and fleshy in opuntia and modified to perform the function of leaf. Again, this is the right statement. Rhizophora, it helps to get oxygen for respiration or for the roots. So again, this is the right statement. And the last one is the subaerially growing stems in grasses and strawberry help in vegetative propagation. Now we have seen, if you are knowing about the statement or the facts, you can answer this question. Otherwise, you have to skip. So all these B, C, and D and E statement, they are the right statement. So what is the wrong statement? Option A. But here you have to read, you have to answer the correct set of statement. Now choose the correct answer from the option given below. We have to choose such a statement where option A is not there, because option A is the wrong option. And here we have to select the correct set of statement. Now where we cannot find the option A, we cannot find the option A only in option first, that is having B, C, and D option, because we have already made the read the statement and found that all 4 statements are correct except the A statement, because it is not correct, where axillary buds are modified into thorns but not leaflets. So this is the wrong option, and accordingly this option first is the right answer. Now let's move to question 1 to 5. Exotype of sex determination can be found in. Now we have different types of sex determination or chromosome, like XX or XY, it is found in humans. And if it is Drosophila, it is the ratio of sex chromosome to the autosomes. In birds, something ZW is found. Grasshopper, XO is found. And in the question, you are given about XO type of sex determination. That is found in grasshoppers, not Drosophila. Here, sex chromosome and autosomes are found, not in monkeys and not in birds where ZW is found. So the right answer for this question is option first, where you can see the axotype of sex determination. It is taking place in grasshopper. Birds have ZW, chickens have Z0 or ZO, bees have 2N by N, and humans and fruit flies, they have XY chromosome. So here I have finished with 25 questions, and in the next session we'll start with more 25 questions that are left. So basically for zoology and botany you have 50 questions where you have to answer 45. All right, so we are going to discuss all 50 questions, whether it is botany or zoology. So here today I have covered 25 questions from botany, and we'll cover more 25 that is left in the next session. So I hope you all have enjoyed the session or this class. So if you enjoyed, do not forget to subscribe our channel, that is Biotecnika, and also share this link to all the friends so that they can also see the answers for this question. If you have any query, just post your queries in the comments below, or you can also write us a mail to us at info@biotecnika.org. You can also call us on a toll-free number, the number that you can find on a screen. So thank you everyone. We will meet you in the next video. So tomorrow you will be having a chemistry section where the experts will be dealing with the chemistry. We have already discussed yesterday with the chemistry questions, and tomorrow again they are going to come and discuss the chemistry. So be there on time, join with us, and there they are going to discuss the chemistry. Meet you in the next video with the botany questions that are left with the 25 questions. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for your time and patience. Thank you.